It is my great honor to welcome you all to Starfleet Academy.
There's never been a better time to enroll in Star Trek.
It's our job to prepare you for the unimaginable. To the night, cadet!
In high-pressure situations, positive reinforcement is crucial to one's success. You're doing a great job.
This is what we train for.
These friends of mine, they all live for something bigger than themselves.
And that's Starfleet.
Starfleet Academy. New series now streaming on Paramount+.
This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, time, people, places, and things. But at its heart and at its core, the Auburn experience is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and Auburn family. The easier way to say it, though, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to be doing, episode 159 of the Auburn Experience podcast. I am always here with you, your host, Kyle Loomis, and alongside me, the birthday boy, Mr. Austin Scott. Happy 30 years of Austin Scott.
Huh?
30, yeah.
Huh? I can't hear you. What? 30 years old. So old. 30 was a magic number this week, though. So it kind of worked out. And to answer one of our comments there to start the show, how old was I when Auburn basketball won in Gainesville in 96? 19 days old.
Wow. We actually did the day math on that. That's pretty incredible.
Well, they showed the clip during the game and realized until in the game that it had been that long. Right. So I think it's February 10th, and I'm a January 22nd boy. So 19 days old and get to see it again.
It's a good little week here. You know, normally you are associated with bad things in Auburn basketball, like somehow you being tied into it.
Just Auburn in general. That's okay. You can
for a while, basketball in you has been pretty tough. Now you broke that streak of you
had a great streak last year. Yeah, you did.
And now see, look, you just broke this streak of somehow your birth being tied in with this 30 years ago, only 19 days old. That's right. I think we can just tell Coach Pearl that you're the reason that this finally worked, not his players. None of that.
Maybe we just need to get Coach Stephen Pearl in the head job. Maybe that's what it took.
That's all.
He's got quite the hit list here of coaches he's taken down. So
he really has. So we're
counting... some of you okay with that?
Last I heard, it was a Nepo hire. Last I heard he was not qualified. Last I heard he had not done any work to be qualified for this position. He's only beaten Rick down. He's only beaten Rick Pitino. He's only beaten the reigning national champs and his friend Todd Golden. He's only beaten Dana Altman. Who else did he beat? There's two more in that list. But basically, a bunch of Final Four coaches are now. He is
John Calipari.
John Calipari, obviously throw that in there as well. But that meme of the Grim Reaper going from door to door, it's Stephen Pearl right now, legitimately, just knocking off all of these like major coaches. So, folks, if you're still somehow thinking you sound smart by questioning this hire at this point in the year and at this point in the tenure, you can't be helped at this point. I don't know. Anyway, how did you already get me on a rant in just the first part of this game, first part of the show, Austin? I mean, we shouldn't have been here already.
Actually, I went to tell you this pre-show, and so now I'm going to throw another loop in our monkey wrench of a show here. And I didn't get to do a lot of show and tell at Christmas for Auburn wise.
Yeah,
and so I brought some birthday things.
Show and tell.
Show
and tell. Birthday lunch.
Yeah, that. Well, okay, so to harken back, you remember last Christmas when I'm a big Snow Village person. We've talked about this. We've
talked about this, which is so weird because you get so snobbish about me putting Christmas up early. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, it's not snobbish; it's just principle. Anyway, so this was last Christmas, right?
Nice.
I got Stanford Hall. So there's a collection of like campus collegiate collectible things or whatever like this, and they made a bunch for a bunch of universities.
Yeah.
Well, my father found some other ones. I thought that you would enjoy seeing them. Do you know what this is?
Oh, yes, that is the chapel.
The chapel.
The chapel right there at the corner.
That's right, at the corner. Yeah. And then
they actually made that thing?
they made that. Isn't that
wow.
Right here.
And of course, Jordan Hare. So you literally are just creating, I guess you call it a Christmas village, but just an Auburn village?
Well, yeah, Sanford was on the outskirts of Scotts Falls this year, but next year we have more of a budding campus growing that can be a central focus of Scotts Falls Christmas Village. So
I love this.
So yeah, I got some additions. They're going to go with me to my office for now.
Surely they have a Haley Center.
I don't know. I've looked up how many there are left in like this little area. I don't remember seeing Haley. I think Hargis. Is Hargis? No. Langdon
Hall's in there.
I think so. I could be wrong on that. It's one of those two. The sign, the Auburn University sign.
Yeah.
Like the picture spot is there. There's a tree that has actual like toilet paper on it. Two of them, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Obby, like a little figurine Obby. I don't remember if there's others, but there's a Beard Eves. That's it.
I was about to say, you got to get some of the monuments in there. And certainly I think Haley is one of those. I mean, you could do it by quadrants even, and, complete with the asbestos and everything. I'm sorry. Did I say that?
The best.
Best. I said the best one.
As yes. Best of a building.
The best of those is what I said. Anyway, that's awesome. I we appreciate a good show and tell lunch here on the show, and it's a good way to round out from the way we started off this of you lamenting about being 30 and all that kind of stuff. One final thing before we move into potpourri, just as a quick thing, because it's not really a specific Auburn topic, but I think it's worth bringing up because of some of the hubbub this week with certain teams being so desperate that they need to go and find players that technically shouldn't be eligible anymore to play. Let me just ask you a question, Austin. If you could bring back a recent, meaning like it's got to have a chance for some type of weird eligibility to be on this year's Auburn men's basketball team, who would you pick and why? And I think Janai's out, right? Dylan's out because they were out of eligibility, right?
Yeah, there's been so much online bickering about who's actually would qualify for this, and I don't want to get into that conversation. There's a bajillion tweet threads you can go find of people calling each other names that really don't matter. But two that I believe, I don't really care what you believe of if I'm right or wrong in this, but two I believe that I think are options that would be, if they so chose, are Denver Jones and Chaney Johnson. I'd take either one of them. I would take either one of them to come back and play for this team. I think both of their skill set positions could help. I think they both were looking for a waiver toward the end of last year, and that's a shoot a fish in the bucket type of situation.
Sure. Well, for some people it seems, but others it seems like all you got to do is get the right judge.
The right judge, and anything can happen. Especially if you donated a good bit of money. But I would take either of those two right now. I think regardless of like from a talent standpoint in Auburn's situation, those two guys are old enough that you just need some older leadership on this team. Mm-hmm. Now they're developing their own. Certainly, we saw that, you see the results starting to pay off for that. But I think both of them, Denver or Chaney, would be great additions to this team and provide on and off court leadership.
I would be all for either of those picks. I think both have value. I just think of the depth right now with losing Emeka Oporum this year. I'm going to go Chaney on that one, and I'm a big Chaney Johnson fan.
Absolutely.
Too. So, I mean, all the love to Denver. Love me some Denver Jones, but if I got to pick one, just have to. That's the one
I'd be in the same boat. Yep.
Yeah. So good choices either way. All right, Auburn potpourri time. Let's roll through a bunch of different things. This is one of those weeks where I had a lot of fun just kind of collecting all the news and trying to sort through the different things that we could talk about. Certainly, let's start off the show with what the majority of you here are for anyway. That's for the football side of things. Portal. The portal continues. It is still the most magical time of the year for those of you that just can't get enough of recruiting and all that kind of stuff. And Auburn just kept going this week. I'm going to give you the names that I believe we weren't able to talk about officially last week, but these are the only ones that we're talking about. And I think it's everybody now at this point that are on the official transfer portal list of Auburn Athletics. Nobody else's, but I think it should have all correlated at this point. Here's your list. Kamari Todd, cornerback. Kenneth McManus, the fourth, offensive line. I'm going to do my best. I think it is Derek Plaz. Is that how you say it?
That's
Derek
what I
Plaz?
would go with. Yep.
Offensive line, Hunter Herring, tight end, Tay Meadows, running back, Mitchell Matthews Canty, linebacker, and Arliss Boardingham, a tight end. So, Austin, I think there's a bunch of different ways that we can talk about either them as individuals or just maybe pick your favorites. So let me just start with you. Of those ones that were, I think, was this like week 3, 4 of the transfer portal cycle, something like that? 3 or 4, whatever week it is, who sticks out to you the most from that list I just gave you?
Well, I think the one that sticks out the most to me that I see that could kind of contribute quickly is I'm very interested in Tay Meadows from Troy, the running back, the redshirt senior. I'm not so certain that he might be in our usual running back skill position. I think that could be a spot where someone's a very good return man. Now he's had a successful 4 years being a running back, but I think that he might be a very specific niche kind of guy for this offense or for this entire team. And so I really like a possibility of Tay Meadows, an in-state guy getting to play for one of the 2 major in-state programs. You have to think that he takes a lot of pride in that too.
And let's see, Tay 2 is listed as I'm looking on here on the list, I lost it, a senior. So he wouldn't be able to be around. I think it's a long way off for that Troy-Auburn matchup that was announced, but that would have been cool. That would have been really cool. I like the little angle of a in-state guy coming up into the big league, so to speak, and competing here. It's a very full already running back room. So you do wonder how that's going to work out with Jeremiah likely in the lead there. I think a lot of people would assume Bryson Washington, as we've talked about, is probably into that second slot. And you got a couple guys that chose to stick it out with Auburn, some more that have been brought into, counting now Trey Meadows. So really, it's kind of anyone's guess how this room may shake out.
Room.
Very full room, but you have options. And from what I understand, people always have asked me a lot, how are they going to utilize all these running backs? I'm like, what, did you not hear Coach? He said, we're going to run the ball a lot. More carries. It means people get tired quicker, more rotation. Thus, you have a lot of running backs. So think about that.
Well, and when Damari left the team, Omar Mabson certainly stepped up at some points, but there was a drop off in what Auburn had production wise and experience wise. So, there's a lot to be made of how many scholarships are now available to give out on a team, and I think you're going to see a lot more depth than maybe we're used to.
Absolutely. I'm going to go to one that I just find the most interesting because I'm going to make an analogy for you here. I think you are not going to be surprised. Do you know the name Taysom Hill in the NFL?
I do. I knew exactly where you were going.
And you know exactly where I'm going now. Apparently, he is the Swiss Army knife of the NFL for the New Orleans Saints. Apparently, we have found someone almost exactly like him with Hunter Herring, who is coming in as a senior tight end, officially being listed on the Auburn website. However, he's played a little bit of quarterback, a little bit of everything else. Would this fall into the Chandler Cox H-back type of situation we've got going on / quarterback / I mean, are we just going back to Gus Malzahn? Are we literally just changing a different coach and doing some different things or similar things here?
Well, I don't think he has the build and frame of Chandler Cox or Jay Prosh, but I think that Hunter Herring's one that looks like he could be used in a lot of different ways and keep a lot of defenses guessing. I'm very interested to see what this kind of looks like. I would also not be surprised at all if this is one of those situations where a guy wants to figure out if he can find a way into the league by doing something a little bit different at a higher program, but also is looking to maybe learn and see if he can get into coaching right after it. I think Hunter Herring obviously has played a lot of football and seems like he has had a productive time at La Monroe and looks like a really smart kid. So I'm very interested to see how he's used in this offense and what kind of can be garnered from another kid who's played a lot of football on this team.
Absolutely. And just on top of our discussion here about him, can I just point out now with the last commitment, Arliss Boardingham, look at all the tight ends that have come in this class. A portal alone. Arliss Boardingham, Hunter Herring, Jake Johnson, who we've talked about previously, who there's a lot of maybe discussion about, is that your lead one right there? Jonathan Eccles, coming in from USF, knowing the offense, has got a lot of probably promise there as well. Xavier Newsom, who came over from Howard with his former head coach. And then you even picked up one of the USF commits in the 2026 class as well. So it's really intriguing to me to look at this tight end room and go, it is completely new, basically. I don't know if who is left from it that we had last year, but it's not just the attrition of coaches leaving. To me, it's also just a lot of them graduated and stuff like that. It's all that combined. But it's one of the more intriguing things in this transfer portal is just there's an emphasis on tight ends, which I find very intriguing.
Oh, I think a lot of people are excited about that too, because if you look at this offense from Golish and where he's been at different spots, tight end's been a big emphasis. And like we talked about with Jake Johnson last week, Auburn hasn't had that kind of like real threat since maybe Rivaldo Fairweather. And even then, maybe you have to go back even further of someone who's been actively involved in the offense as another receiving threat or rushing threat or anything like that. So there's certainly a lot of options and guys who have a lot of different skill sets. But it seems like Alex Golish has a knack for finding a tight end. So we'll see how each of them get used and maybe who rises from the bottom.
He does have in his coaching history of focusing a little bit on tight ends, so this shouldn't shock you in the least. So a little bit of a preview maybe of what to expect from the tight end room. And there's the transfer portal for this week thus far. A little last football news here. We got I think a little bit of a surprise this week. The spring practice schedule is now available for you to find online if you'd like to go check that out and see that on social media. Now, it looks pretty official to me, so I can lay it out for everybody and just kind of put it out there for you. Starts on March 17th, and they are going to have a total of 14 practice. We've got March 17th, 19th, 21st, 24th, 26th, 28th, 31st. The 2nd, it looks like they'll take a few days off. I'm guessing that's spring break. Am I right on that, Austin? Or did that be Easter? That's probably
that's Easter. I think the spring break is earlier in the year.
So they may have just pigeonholed that in there very nicely. The 7th of April, the 9th, the 11th, and then 14th, 16th, 17th, 18th is 8A at 2 p.m. And you can find some of these are night times, kickoffs or not kickoffs, but practice times, things like that. But there you have it. For those of you that are looking forward to getting the spring football talks going, that's about what you need. You know when the 8A game is going to be, what that's going to look like, maybe a little bit more discussion about that later from us, but also maybe when you can expect to see some news coming out of camp. Because let's be honest, that's what people are really itching for with this type of news is I got to know something about this new team because everybody's wanting, what's your predictions? It's like, we haven't even filled the roster yet. We haven't even played it down in spring ball, but there you go, Austin. There's your practice schedule if you needed it.
There's practice schedule. And there's, that's the beginning of the pre-talking season, right? So it'll get going. There's a lot to be made about the calendar for college football. And this kind of just adds to it that the portal is still happening. There will be a short break, and then they will get to actual football X's and O's practice again. And then it's summer and talking season, and back before you know it, we'll be on here yapping about our predictions and in-game seasons again. So it really never stops.
Yeah, it never stops. But for those of you that just have that itch that can't be scratched, there you go. Look at that calendar and certainly get excited for those that are able to attend practices. They'll be giving you some updates, and we'll talk about stuff that comes out of camp as it arises. Let's talk about Aubie, because why not? It's Aubie after all. He's only an 11-time national championship, mascot, Hall of Fame, the best Tiger in the world. He is a real Tiger. If you didn't know that, then you're not a real Auburn fan. Prove me wrong. That's all I'm going to say to you. The best case you got was Lee Corso, and he couldn't prove me wrong. But this week was I think it's the title of it is the something CA
UCA National UCA Championships.
In the most magical place on earth, down there in Disney World.
We did have to tell the twins. We were at the basketball game last weekend. And the twins were asking, "Where's Aubie?" I said, "Aubie went to see Mickey Mouse. Aubie's in Mickey Mouse's house." And they were like, "Oh, Aubie went to see Mickey Mouse." I'm like, "Yeah, am I go see Mickey Mouse?" I'm like, "One day we can go see Mickey Mouse."
he went and danced for Mickey. He's basically like, dance for me, puppet. Like for the big cheese, start dancing.
That's right.
Isn't that weird? The mouse making the cat dance and do his little skits and stuff. That's kind of
fair.
That's wild. All right. Anyway, what we're here to talk about. So the championships for the mascot were this week, and certainly Aubie was always going to be in competition because he's the greatest mascot there ever was and ever will be. But if you go and look at the results, which you can find them, you'll find that Aubie sadly only finishes 5th out of the top 10 that competed. However, if you look at that list, Brutus won, if you want to know. I mean,
which is that's a bit rare. Like Brutus is not normally one of the ones that, if any, beats Aubie out. It's normally like the Golden Gopher.
He was up there.
Smokey wins a lot. But Brutus pulled it out this year. Aubie comes in 5th. But if you look at the way they score it, Aubie is the number 5, and everybody below 5 is a big drop down in scoring. So he clearly is with the upper echelon of the mascot. Yeah. So no national title this year for Aubie, but you still can't take away 11 national championships from the greatest Tiger mascot there ever was, never will be. Look, if we all know he should rightfully win it every year. If he did, this thing would get abolished so quickly. No, we wouldn't be doing this anymore, and that just wouldn't be fun. So you got to let the kids have some fun for a while. And this year was just Aubie's turn to be 5th, and it's okay. It's okay. It won't be long before we're talking about the 12th.
So what you're saying is it's not that Brutus won. It's just that they don't want this to become a blowout even more than it already is in terms of the over. Yeah, okay. That's what's going on there.
100%.
I don't know if I've seen any clips of it online or anything like that, but sometimes they'll put those out there.
I promise you, when it comes out, I will know. I 1000% will know. So you just ask me about it again soon, and I'll let you know.
Ask me about my mascot. Is you just wear a T-shirt like that or something like that? But congrats to Aubie for a top 5 finish. You'll get him next year, bud. You always do. That's right. Lastly, in potpourri stuff that I think we're going to have time for today, I want to give a shout out to those that competed this weekend. This is Auburn in the Pros segment, I guess. The AFC and the NFC championships. Now, obviously, there was a really, really big story out there with Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix. We talked about that a lot last week. He had a really great start to the game and just it didn't work out for them at the end. But if you didn't see that throw and that setup for that touchdown for Jarrett Stidham, you know why we all were very excited about seeing it. It looked very familiar in a good way. But here is all your guys that competed in this and had a shot for the Super Bowl. You got, and these are coaches and players. And just think about this, Austin. It's always, we have Auburn guys in the playoffs having a shot at the Super Bowl, but I don't know that we've had this many associated with, all of these different teams all at once. On the Seahawks coaches, you've got Josh Bynes and Nico Thorpe, longtime Seahawk over there too. You also have Nehemiah Pritchett and Derek Hall on the Seahawks. As we're recording this right now, that's still ongoing. So that's why we're kind of just talking about it in this sense. On the Rams, you've got Jarquez Hunter and Roger McCreary Island. We've already talked about Jarrett and Bo on the Broncos. And then what we already know to be true, Carlton Davis heading to the Super Bowl again with a different team. Carlton Davis III. And that's all your representatives for Auburn in the NFL championships of the AFC and NFC. So it's been a pretty successful playoffs for Auburn in the NFL.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like you said, I think a lot of people with the big names were Jarrett and Bo, and a lot of people wanted to see Denver and the orange and blue with the Auburn quarterback get back to the Super Bowl. Just wasn't their day, and what a crazy sight with all the snow up there.
Oh, it was beautiful.
It was bonkers. Yeah, either way, we're going to have a Super Bowl winner, and the Auburn family will get another addition to their Super Bowl roster. Will it be Carlton Davis or one of these guys from the Seahawks or one of these guys from the Rams? Right now, a live update that won't be relevant tomorrow when this comes out, but the Seahawks are winning with 4.5 minutes left. That seems like the team with the most. So if you're looking for a rooting interest, that might be in the Super Bowl, at least that might be what you should look for.
Let me just say this, not a Patriots fan, so sorry, Carlton. I will be rooting against you no matter what. But anyway.
They have the least, so I guess that's something.
There's that. I'm going to squeeze one more thing in potpourri, and then we got to get going on other topics. Because I told you I got to talk about this. I don't know if this has been around for some time, and I just missed it, and I just discovered it this week. But apparently it's a hot ticket item. The Auburn University bookstore has come out with probably the most genius thing, and if it's never come up with before, a TP roll doll, like a plushie. Like, I have a brilliant thing also I'm about to say in a minute. Once I let you have your say. No, it's going to be good. You're going to love it. Especially as a dad, you're going to love it.
Oh, dear.
But there is a TP roll doll that you've been able to purchase. I don't know if they're sold out, but I just think this is the brilliant thing with the Tuner's Corner angle and all that stuff. Please tell me you're as excited about this as I am.
I don't remember when I saw this, but I want to say my wife told me like what these are. Like it's not just an Auburn thing. Like they are a plush brand that is a certain type of thing. And I remember her telling me, yeah, they have Auburn ones. And I remember like, what in the world is this? But I can see them being absolutely bought off the shelves in no time with how adorable they are. And I'm sure they're very soft. I went
Charmin soft.
Oh my gosh. No, Scott soft.
Oh well.
I went into J&M with my mom yesterday, and we did not see any. I didn't look, but we did not see any. So I know you're obsessed with these right now.
I am, and it may be elsewhere. That's just where I saw it from the Auburn University bookstore. But I had to talk about it. And can I just little free marketing, folks? Do you know what the name of it should be?
Let me think on this. What's the name?
Think about it.
Should
just
be?
think about it. I'm gonna give
ahead.
you it. It is having to it's a plushie, right?
I assume so. Yeah.
It's a plush TP doll flushy.
Flushy for the what?
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
And you could even go with the Auburn with the old Santifreeze used to be nicknamed the Flush. So
it's all we've just done. All the
meant
marketing.
to be. There you go.
There's all the
get your own flushy. I think when I saw it, honestly, I thought about how our subscribers on YouTube always like joke about how they have the oil drum. I think that's what you need to make the new icon. Is this little
flushy? That's what it is. Yeah, you get the flushy every time you do. Anyway,
that's right.
Wow, what a segment! And I still love the name.
Don't say you don't get everything on this show. Never say that.
It's the Auburn Experience, man, and I don't know what category that falls into: sports, culture, family. Maybe family with some of y'all. I don't know. All right,
all of it.
Main topics. Let's start with some basketball. It has been an eventful week in the basketball world. Shooty hoops, and we gave a little preview early in that about some things we'd be mentioning. Auburn's on a little bit of a streak here. We're talking about men's basketball here. They are on a 3-game winning streak in the SEC this week. They took on 2 SEC opponents, both on the road, and I believe this is they'll be on the road 3 out of the next 4. Well, the current streak, we're in 4 weeks. Essentially, they'll be back home for Texas after this, but then go on the road again to Tennessee. Focus on this week, though. They had 2 wins this week. Ole Miss headed over to Oxford, and that's always a challenge. No matter seems who the coach is or whatever, Auburn and Ole Miss seem to have pretty good basketball games. Auburn 78-66 wins that one, and then Saturday happened, and boy, it was beautiful. 76-67. Auburn defeats the reigning national championship team, the Florida Gators and Todd Golden. Now, I know we're going to spend the most of our time there, and we should. But before we move to that, is there anything about the Ole Miss game that we should say, or does it really just need to be the focus about the last one?
Well, I mean, yes, because it was a great game, and I think that was one where Auburn. So far this season looked like they've struggled a little bit is Ole Miss because they've done so well against Ole Miss, especially in Oxford recently. Is this going to cause some trouble for them? Is this a little more even than we previously have seen in the last few years? And at times, of course, it's a well-coached team with Chris Beard, and they have incredible players in AJ Storr and and others. But Auburn went in there and did what they do in Oxford and won again, and controlled the game really well. A great atmosphere, it looked like, but my goodness, Tahad Pettiford just broke the rim off the place, and just had an absolutely great game. So not surprising. Obviously, that's one of Auburn's opponents we will see again.
Yep.
And they when they come to Neville Arena. So you've got that one under your belt and look into try and get the sweep later this year. But obviously, I think most of us are not that we're not proud of a win, but most of us are pretty excited and pleasantly happy about yesterday.
Yeah. So this Florida game, certainly you could build this up to a season-defining moment, things like that. I didn't feel like there was too much of that this week, but you could kind of feel that narrative out there a little bit. And, I mean, there's 1,000 different ways that you can just talk about this. What's the big story of this one? Auburn taking on and beating the reigning national championship. Todd Golden and Stephen Pearl being so close, with Todd once being here at Auburn and being part of the Pearl staff and their family connection, all that kind of stuff. The 30-year drought of not being able to get it done in Gainesville against Florida in men's basketball has just been wild. Someone talked about this today. I don't know who to credit it to, but it felt like throughout Bruce Pearl's tenure, we were checking off these like good and bad streaks with him, like a lot of bad streaks too, of losing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just felt like at some point there was nothing left to do because, I mean, he'd been to 2 Final Fours and stuff like that, but you forgot that this still sat out there. So 30 years. And as we talked about it, Austin was only 19 days old when the last time that Auburn beat them in Gainesville. I think that's where you need to start with this, the significance of this and what this means, not only for a program, getting that another monkey off of your back, but also just the signature win that it is for your team on the season, but as a whole for the program. Stephen called it.
Yeah,
in
I was
his
about
opinion,
to say that.
You go ahead. What did he say?
Well, Steven said it's arguably the best road win in this program's history. And I, that sounds daunting and sounds like, but when you think of true road games,
Sure.
It very well might be. And I don't know who all has looked at the stats or the history and seeing what could rival that. Maybe that's something another day, but when you think about the significance of how long it's been in Gainesville, my brother texted me after the game and said, we used to dream about winning down there. And it's true. We talked about 19 days old. I don't remember that game, if you can believe it. But obviously I haven't seen it winning down there, and going into this week, I felt the same way as I felt many times going to Gainesville. So it's just not going to happen. Like we can't shake it. It's the Athens in football right now. It's the Tuscaloosa in football right now. It's just not going to happen. And despite all the doubters from within the family and out, Auburn found a way to do it. And more, not more importantly, but more relevant to right now, it speaks a lot about what this team is, and how I think a lot of this season it's looked like Auburn has gone lackadaisical in areas, and it looks like the urgency might have kicked in, and that this team is clicking on all cylinders and recognizing what they're capable of. Mm-hmm. And I think you saw that in really a start to finish game. Now, sure, it got hairy there toward the end of the second half, but I think that adds all the more to the fire of that this team is finding some resilience in itself and some leadership inside of it in order to do hard things. And Absolutely. They certainly did.
Yeah. Listen, it feels a lot like Auburn has gotten itself a lead, whether it was this year or years with Bruce. And once they lose that lead, they'd struggle to get it back, if not win the game at times. And to do that in a place we've not won for 30 years, that says a lot about this team. And I know there's still some people that are, unrealistically skeptical about this team, but there are fair criticisms and questions about the team, as long as they're kept in context and things like that. But we were talking about this today a little bit in our Discord, and I always even harken back to last year. What does this team look like when your best player is not playing up to their caliber? Now, certainly Keyshawn Hall did that in this game. He went off. I mean, he said, I'm returning to form, and boy, did he in this game, especially in the first half. But in these other two wins, Keyshawn Hall has not really done what we were accustomed to. One because of foul trouble, one because he was just off that day. And the team still found ways to win. And so you couple that with what just happened in this Florida game. I think, folks, you cannot ignore context. You can't just be an emotional person. You've got to look at the full picture of what this Auburn team is showing you, that they can compete with the best. Florida was the best, and Stim would still argue whether their standings show that or not, the best of the SEC at the time that we played them, and we took them down in their place. That is not a fluke. That if that happens once in a year and Auburn doesn't do anything else impressive, you couple that with your St. John's win, your Oregon win, showing the ability to almost take down Houston and stuff like that, the Arkansas win. Here's a good question for this, Austin. I'm going to give you the 3 most important games for Auburn's resume. Florida win on the road, Arkansas at home, St. John's at a neutral site. How would you rank those of importance? I mean, it may be pretty simple, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would put. I don't remember. I haven't watched St. John's as much since Auburn's game.
Sure.
And so I truthfully, I just don't even know what level. I know Rick Pitino got his 900th win this weekend over his kid, which is pretty hilarious. But I think I'd have to put Florida at the top. I just think especially on the road, and the magnitude of everything, but especially on the road and kind of what Auburn's been up and down with lately, I would put in Gainesville in 1. And then the other 2, it's just such a drop off from there. I think the other 2 are similar to me. Of course, one was out in Las Vegas and one was in Auburn, Alabama. But I think that probably the Arkansas win, because of the way it was done, just an absolute blowout. But as far as the St. John's game, I think you could throw it up there either way too, with a legendary coach, and so early in the season that this team was still trying to figure things out.
Yeah, absolutely. And one final note from this Florida game, Austin, you know what makes me most happy in all the world in a basketball game?
Free throws.
Did you look at that percentage in this game?
I did see that percentage. It was quite nice.
90%. And it's not just that. I mean, your guards can do that for you. Yep. But when your big man, Keyshawn Murphy, goes 100%, and I'm not talking 2 for 2, 6 for 6 from the line, and your full team goes 90%, there are fewer things in basketball that'll get me jammed up jelly tight. That does it right there. I don't care. Y'all can think I'm silly for that, but this is the stuff I harp on. And look at compared to what Florida did or didn't do in free throws. And you can make that argument right there. That may have won and lost the game with that big of a differential too. So I was really excited about that, as you can tell.
Yeah. It was a big time win. I said to Emily multiple times today, I really can't believe they pulled that off, and they did. So
yes,
it's gonna be an exciting, like you said, big week ahead. Texas, Tennessee, and then a week midweek off, and then Alabama comes to town. So still lots and lots and lots. We're in that stretch that you and I talked about when the season schedule came out. It was Ole Miss, Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Alabama. We're in that 5-game stretch where it looked like things would be not make or break, but very defining. So we're in 2 games in, 2-0.
Doing pretty well right now. So we'll see how it continues to stretch. Maybe as I close out to this part of the segment, specialness of the Florida win, all that stuff, but also you've got a big personality for the Auburn basketball program in terms of his history and stuff. Charles Barkley, not only did he call the win on his broadcast that he was part of, which was amazing if you haven't seen that clip. Bruce Pearl showed up on that same broadcast to present him with his Final Four ring, his second Final Four ring. So I know this confuses people sometimes that you weren't part of the team. Why are you getting one? There are some people that are such big advocates and such big figures that you honor them in that way. And I think it's very appropriate for them to do that for Charles, as much as he puts himself out there and chooses to put Auburn out there in his support. We all know and have that image of him sitting at that table where they dressed it all up with the tiger and all that stuff. So I love seeing this week. Love that Charles got that special moment. He seemed very, very grateful for it.
Charles Barkley and Auburn basketball are synonymous, and they will be for a very, very long time. And his like you said, him being an advocate and putting himself out there for Auburn long before they were getting even close to Final Fours. It certainly deserves him getting to be a part of that special group that has a ring. So kudos to him. Super glad. I love the clip of him because right after he got it, he called it and said that it was guaranteed. And sure enough, Charles gets another one right.
That's one of those times where Charles probably said after that, that's probably going to be clipped later when we don't win. But now it's clipped for good reasons.
That's right.
Charles, you are one of the best. You love to put your foot in your mouth sometimes, but boy, when you are right, my friend. And we're still excited that you get to represent us up on the big stage, so to speak, and get your Final Four rings too. Just a quick wrap up of basketball for the week. It wasn't a very exciting week for the Auburn women's basketball team. They have 2 losses, but they are in the meat of this SEC schedule. They did take on number 5 Vanderbilt. A 53-81 loss. Looks pretty bad. They were much closer though in this game than that shows, but it is the number 5.
Great year for Vanderbilt so far. Yeah.
Just keep that in mind. Number 16, Oklahoma, 65-72. They lose this afternoon, but they, I think at one point tied or got the lead. Was it just
tied
a tie?
In the third quarter, I believe.
So once again, what I ask you to look at is not just the emotions of things. And again, this is the first year of Coach Larry Vickers. Nobody's shouldn't be getting super emotional about things. We're trying to establish stuff, but what you've seen him do, taking down the ranked Alabama team, you're competing with some of the SEC right now, a few of the others that you're not ready for, Texas, probably Vanderbilt as well. But I have a feeling here we're getting close to maybe, and I don't want to say call it turning a corner because it's first year, but something, I have a little special end to the year here. Maybe, I don't know. I forget who's left.
Well, it's like I said, I think last week, like this, it's impressive that this Auburn team has a roster that was very thrown together and kind of, I don't want to say makeshift, but
sure,
put together quickly with a lot of people who didn't know each other. And that they are competing with some of the, like you said, the teams they should be competing with, like Oklahoma and like Mississippi State and teams like that. So there's certainly still a long way to go, but it's been impressive to see that they have a fight that will pay dividends later on. So don't give up on them. I really, really like this team. I think that this year won't be up to any standards that anyone wants to see when it's all said and done. But I think we'll see that there were a lot of good things to take away from and that it's going to build on itself.
It's laying a foundation. That's all this is about this year. And you might find a few surprises along the way. We've already done that against Alabama this year. Final segment tonight. We've been talking about doing this for some time, and this felt appropriate as a couple of the spring things are pretty close to getting going here, folks. I don't think you're aware of that. We're sitting here at the end of January, and some of these spring sports are right around the corner. So we are going to do our spring calendar for you all and try to best help assist you on some times that you should be considering coming to the loveliest village on the plains. The majority of this is going to be sports. As always, we want to remind you that there are other things to come to Auburn for than sports, and especially if there's a lot of that going on, maybe take a few of those things in too. But that'll be the majority of the stuff that we discuss here in this particular segment for the spring calendar event for you. And we're doing to the best of our ability. We've got all this laid out here. We'll try our best to make sure that I did my best to make sure I had everything lined up properly with names and all that kind of stuff, just to put all the boilerplate stuff out there. But obviously you're looking at sports stuff with some overlap of the winter stuff, baseball, softball, tennis. Golf is really not in Auburn this year at all, other than practicing. And that's where they live and reside and stuff like that, which is a shame, at least that I can remember that I saw in there.
Yeah.
Track and field is in play a lot this year, which is nice with that newly renovated surface for Hutzel Rosen Track. I'm going to talk about that here a second. So I've given Austin a list of things. Would you like first pick of a weekend to suggest, or do you how do you want to do this?
No, you go first. I always have to go first. You go first.
I don't think you always have to go first, but
here I'm going to say 95% of the time I go first.
I'm going to take the easy. So what we're doing is here, we're just going to give you some of the weekends that we think you should be paying attention to. I'm going to take the easy one off the board right away. And it's the least amount of stuff going on, but we have to acknowledge it. and I won't get started on my rant that there should be things going on this day.
Yeah, we've done that. Let's just
okay. I'm sorry.
going.
Sorry. I'm shaking right now because April 18th, A-Day, back again. We've already talked about it. Traditional game. Band's going to be there. Tiger Walk. I'm sure Aubie's going to be there as well. My hope is that there will be extra things a part of this weekend that we're not aware of yet, that will kind of expand the feeling of this. And as much as there should be other things going on this day and this weekend, it is kind of nice to have that taking center stage right there. So I think, look, we acknowledge the majority of you here come here for the Auburn football talk and stuff like that. That's got to be number one on your list for most of you if you're going to be thinking about a weekend this spring to come take in things here on campus and see it. I'm sure it'll be lovely that time of year. Hopefully we'll get one of those rare where it's not weirdly cold like some of them have, or just scorching hot. It'll just hopefully be like a beautiful.
Just give us a nice spring day. That's all we're asking for.
Would you like a night game? I know it's 2 p.m., but wouldn't it be nice to have a night game for a spring game?
Yes. I did we talk about this when it was announced that it's I remember this being talked about, and I think that kind of pushes people away from being able to do it in a day. And I understand that too. I think that would be interesting, and I think you could get a lot of buzz around that. But I also understand why we keep it to a day game.
Maybe if you had an opponent that you actually played.
Oh, maybe so.
Maybe so. I don't know. So that's really it. There's nothing else that we're aware of right now. There may be some other non-sports things going on at Auburn to take in that week, and I would highly encourage you to always go look at calendars for things like the Gooch Performing Arts Center, the Auburn City of Auburn calendars of events and all that kind of stuff. But that's the easy one off the board. What you want to talk about next?
Yeah, well, I think Man, I want to go a bunch of different ways here.
I know there's really, folks, while he's thinking, I didn't think there was going to be as many good weekends in the spring as last year, but there really is. And there are good ones in February, March, April, and May. So there is a lot of options there. And it depends on if you want to have a little colliding with some of the winter sports or have just some exclusivity of the major spring sports together. There's a lot to choose from, Austin.
Sorry, this is a question that won't be entertaining. What is MTH? Is that supposed to be MTN?
MTN. That is supposed to be MTN. Men's tennis.
I was like, oh, that is intriguing. Math. There's math.
Men's. I was trying to think of something with horses. I don't know.
I got no idea. But I'm going to say February 26th through March 1st.
Okay.
Because I think that gives you a variety of almost everything, maybe outside of equestrian. And we've talked about, I really like that Nebraska baseball series. So I'll read the list first. There's the J.B. Moore Invitational with USC Upstate, Virginia Tech, and Troy for Auburn softball. A big women's basketball Kentucky game at home that will be one that I think a lot of people hope might be able to pull some more magic. And then that baseball series versus Nebraska is really intriguing. A really, not really big opponent, but a Power 5 opponent coming into Plainsman Park early in the baseball season. You've got the Ole Miss men's basketball game, the return trip to Neville Arena and on that Saturday, and then two big women's tennis and men's tennis games with SEC opponents that I think a lot of people like we've said, if you haven't gotten out there to the tennis center, that's a great opportunity to do that on back-to-back days, Saturday and Sunday. So that gives you a very well-rounded weekend of the Auburn experience.
Absolutely. Kind of like what an A-Day should be like. I digress. But you've got a tournament with softball. The basketball is still going on. So if you get a little bit of that flavor as well, I agree with you. I'm really intrigued by this Nebraska series. And folks, I'm telling you, if you're not paying attention to this women's tennis program, they just went to the ITA indoor championships today. So this is kind of like that men's golf time or a couple seasons ago where they really caught, the attention of everybody, and they need to be catching your attention too. So that is a really good weekend. I'll make things easy for us and just kind of go, since you took the February one that I thought was the best. I'll go March here and give you another really good suggestion. The end of March, the 26th through the 29th, a lot of variety here as well. You'll have a women's tennis with Mississippi State. You'll have men's tennis with LSU. Softball will be taking on Missouri. Something special I'll get to in a second. And then some more tennis on that Sunday as well. Equestrian is hosting the SEC championships here. So this is a really good time, 2-day event, I believe, for you to head out there and not just see Auburn compete, but everybody else, and kind of get acquainted with the sport. And there's going to be a lot of energy and a lot of excitement around that, especially if that winds up being Auburn versus Georgia for the championship again. That would be great into that. So I know it's not like, it's not anchored by baseball or anything like that. So it's sometimes that doesn't interest people, but you've got softball in town with the SEC. You've got a lot of other of the tennis sports going on. So keep that in mind for yourselves. You've been to Equestrian yet or no?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been out there, and it's very family friendly. I will say too, with it being the SEC championships, like most sports, as we talked about, the SEC runs it in Equestrian, and so you will see Auburn, Texas A&M, Georgia, South Carolina. All of those will be in attendance, right? Okay, that's why I was getting a little nervous. If I remembered, it's a not a round robin, but you know what I mean. It's all competing at once. It's not just one versus one. And so
Auburn Elvis is like screaming this right now. Well, technically,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like football or basketball where it's a team versus a team. They'll be all in attendance, so you will see high level equestrian from throughout the conference and the country. So yeah, and hopefully into March, that's a great weekend to be outside at the Equestrian Center.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking on it, I think it actually may be they get seated and then they
bracket
compete.
Play?
Yeah, it is bracket now that I'm competing. So I'm going to correct us on the fly there now that it finally just hit me.
But bracket play away from there, or they will all still be there.
I think they'll all still be there. Yeah, I think everybody comes.
So you still
bracket
get to see
up.
everybody.
Yeah, you still get to
So a long day.
And long 2 days of the events because it'll be
2 days.
the first round and then the other day. But anyway, so there's your one for March to keep in mind. What's next for you, sir?
I
have two that I have my eye on, and you better pick one of them.
Well, I have a feeling that. Oh, did you say I have to go April? Am I going?
You don't have to go. You can pick. You can go back to March. You can go back to whatever. These are just weekends.
I'm going to go ahead and skip down to May, and just because it's the track and field SEC championships.
Yes.
Which is another very similar to the question. Not something that happens very often, but is also not a place somewhere a lot of people get to. And it's a very pocketed away, very nice track oasis over there, hidden from everyone.
But not super far from Plainsman Park.
Not far from Plainsman Park, and not far from Jane B. Moore Field, which are two other venues you can get to that weekend, with a huge baseball series versus Georgia, and then a possible NCAA first round opponent for softball. So you never know. That could end up being a really fun weekend in mid-May, with lots of things that would be good to be outside for.
I'm going to say the same thing I said about the equestrian host. Auburn's hosting a bunch of stuff this week or this year, if you haven't noticed. So that's a great way for you to get acquainted with this program. A lot of energy, a lot of teams, all that kind of stuff. I know some of y'all roll your eyes when you hear me say this, but I used to be this way as well. Go out to this track and field meet when you are in between maybe some of these softball and baseball opportunities that are going to be there this weekend, and go see your team compete. They've got a great facility with that new resurfacing. Your men's track and field team nearly won a national title 2 seasons ago, was like top 4 last year. So they're legit, folks, and you need to give them some more credit. So that's a good one. I'll couple that with the end of April, which is similar because it's the Tiger Track Classic, which is a traditional one that they host every year. And for the last several years, and to be specific, this is April 24th through the 28th. They have not had this on a weekend with anything else that I can remember, or at least not a lot. This weekend, though, you have softball series with Ole Miss, you have baseball series with Oklahoma, and you have the Tiger Track Classic. Folks, that is a solid, not overly just overdone weekend of stuff where there's just too much going on. You can go in between all those different things. So that is my pitch to you. And frankly, all of these weekends are great. 8A is great. all that kind of stuff. That is my pick for folks, because you're guaranteed. This isn't will the softball team host a first round. They are playing. Baseball is playing. Maybe you have beautiful weather and you have the Tiger Track Classic, and maybe there's other stuff going on that we don't know about. To me, this should have been 8-day week. I'm just saying.
So a week later.
Yeah. So that's just me.
Yeah.
I know that's a lot going on if you throw football in that there too, but that's just how I feel about the thing. So check that one out. Is there anything left that you'd like to remind people of in the spring calendars, or any weekends that you feel like should be discussed, or have we covered the gist of it?
That's a good question. I would just say, there's other things that happen. Of course, I pulled up the Gouge calendar just a little bit ago to see, and there's various performances. I think on the that same weekend, the weekend before A-Day, there's a drama performance people are pretty excited about. This is Doubtfire, so that's an option too. I would just say look at the grand scheme of things. There will be a lot of Auburn, downtown Auburn events nights during these weekends, whether it be Mardi Gras or Emily's like screaming at me right now because there's a name for the arts show that is
Art Walk.
Yes, thank you. The Art Walk that happens, and just an easy Friday night thing to have. So I would just look at those calendars before you come. You'll find a lot of things, and maybe it'll help you find something to do, but also not get stuck in some traffic. And so there's plenty of things to do in the spring in Auburn, downtown Auburn, and just Auburn, the city in the spring is a really fun place.
Absolutely.
And so check it out.
Some final takeaways for me, something to keep in mind. I found out this today. It sounds pretty cool, actually. Vet Fest is happening 4/11. It's a great like family fair type of event thing where they're going to be doing some really cool things at the veterinary school out there. And there's a ton of sports, baseball, softball, all that going on this week, tennis, all going on that week, and soccer. That's the other thing I want to remind you. There are some schedules that haven't officially come out yet. Soccer appeared on my calendar because I have the little sync up, and it's not been announced yet. So that spring schedule will come official soon. There's usually some type of spring volleyball. There could be host sites in the future, as we talked about for softball, but maybe for baseball as well. Same thing for men's and women's tennis. So folks, this is the best that we can give you at this point in January about what to look for Auburn in the spring. You got a lot to decide from. Hopefully we helped you a little bit in that. And certainly we hope to see you there because, I'll be there. Austin's there. And as long as he can remember what the art walk is called, I don't know. I feel like you should have your resident card pulled from you for that.
There's just so many, like during football season, they call it like entertainment nights or something like that. And it's just like,
come home to the corner.
There's lots of that. So they just all kind of run together, but the art walk night is like big time with the tent set up and everything like that. So
absolutely. So check it out. The loveliest village on the plains is more than just sports. It's more than just culture. It's more than just family. It's all the above and much more. And that's why we call it the Auburn Experience here. Thank you all for tuning in for episode 159 of the Auburn Experience. As always, want to encourage you to be following everywhere on social media with us. If you would like ways to contact us, E2C Network at gmail.com. That's the best way to get in contact with me, or direct messages on social media. Where can they find you?
Yeah, at Austin G. Scott on pretty much anything. And feel free to hit me up and let me know if you're coming in town to do something fun in the greatest city on earth. And
be sure to wish Austin a belated happy 30th birthday as he enters real adulthood now.
30, real adulthood. What a saying.
Welcome to it, buddy. Hey, if it makes you feel any better, I'm way closer to 40 than you are. So let's just throw that in there right now. Thank you all for hanging out with us. As we go, I remind you the Auburn Creed asks you to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. We ask you to do the same. War Eagle.
War Eagle.